embracing a lot of complex parts, managing competing agendas, managing divergent ideas, managing different actors that might not normally come together in any other setting. It's a messy process. It's not simple and it's not straightforward. My role is to help to facilitate a very smooth process of engagement between those who are involved, but to also manage expectations. At the end of the process, you want to make sure that your relationships are good and sound. Tower neighborhood renewal is a very intricate, complex group of people who have come together to make the community a more enjoyable place to be, a safer place to be. It incorporates unused or formerly used spaces, doing a redesign, seeing how they can improve on what is there. Maybe it's about moving certain things to other locations where it could be more visible in terms of safety. It could allow for greater access. There's a lot of different things that are happening. It hasn't been decided yet, and it's a process that's going to take place. There are a lot of people who are involved. There are planners, there are architects, there are community development professionals. We have representation from government. We have different actors who are involved. On the other end, we also have residents. It's their community, first and foremost. They're going to make the decisions. When there's opportunities to get involved in the design, they're going to be a part of that. Whenever there's concerns that they have, there's going to be opportunities for them to address it to those key players who are involved in the Tower neighborhood renewal. And our job is to make sure that their voice is present when they're addressing those concerns and those ideas, and it's respected. I think what we've really managed to do very well is to elevate the capacity of the residents to make those types of power decisions and to build powerful relationships. Complexity in this work is about not only managing, but respecting differences of opinion, different ideas, different visions, but also saying that it's possible for us to work together. You have an expectation that wherever it goes, it is going to be the thing that the community really needs, and you're going to honor everybody who's, come together to make sure that this amazing thing happens.
In network leadership, you have to think about the macro, long-term changes that are possible, while also thinking about the granola bars you're going to bring to the meeting. Realizing that those supports and that way of interacting is just as valuable as focusing on the macro kind of long-term strategy. Cross-community organizing is a local network of decision makers and leaders that come together to act strategically in order to decrease duplication, increase coordination, and improve the linkages among the different systems that exist in the neighborhood. And this network really wanted to dive deeper into how we can support young people better in the neighborhood. Network facilitation is not about getting everyone in the same room doing the same thing all the time. Small incremental changes still contributed to change at the macro scale. My role as a network facilitator is really to listen to what the members of the network are saying and working at the micro scale and at the macro scale simultaneously. The KGO Act grew out of these cross-community organizing meetings. KGO Act stands for Kingston, Galloway, Oran Park, all community together, and it was named by local youth. And it is a community-wide project that was funded by Ontario Trillium Foundation that aims to support local service delivery organizations to increase their capacity to support young people. At the macro scale, KGO Act is really trying to shift the power dynamics between organizations and young people. A great example of how the micro changes can contribute to macro changes is within KGO Act when we heard really clearly from young people having unstructured time to build relationships, to build essentially a network amongst themselves, to delve deeply into these issues was one of the greatest things that we could provide and support them in. There are now several groups of young people that are focusing on different issues, but these groups are authentically being led by young people. And the model is that adults that are there are adult allies and are there to listen and provide support and mentorship, but based on what the young people are saying.
Networks are made of people, and people are human, and humans are complex and diverse and have different needs and wants and change over time. And a network needs to adapt to all of those things. When we adapt to those things, we create an environment. When they're able to be there, they're there 100%. And when they're not able to be there, they still have the network in their mind. One of the networks that I lead is a community-wide network of youth. And the purpose of the network is for youth to be able to influence community decision-making. My role within the network as a whole is to lead as a connector and building the relationships and connections to keep the work moving forward, because I don't actually do any of the work of the network. That's really all the people within it that do that. I kind of just facilitate the process. The network consists of youth that are involved in various ways. Some of them are youth leaders, some of them are participants, and some of them are just attending different programs and events in the community. Given that it's a network of youth in the community and the lives of youth are constantly changing at that age, sometimes participation can be kind of inconsistent. One of the things that helped me to overcome this challenge was to really focus and ground myself on what is the core and essence of a network. So I focused on really building genuine relationships with the people within the network. And I found that when we can make those genuine connections, the network becomes really strong, because now we're able to align people's personal goals and goals for their community with what the goals and purpose of the network are. And that is a really strong driving force. One of my lovely friends, Felicia, she is a young adult that has been a part of this network for a couple of years. When I first met her, she was brought in through one of her friends to participate in a meeting for a youth initiative called YSU, which stands for Youth Sports Unlimited. It took some time to kind of get to know her, what her goals are for herself and what her goals were for the community. And then over time, knowing her within the network was able to connect her to different opportunities, and she was able to grow her skills and leadership, and she eventually became one of the youth leads for YSU. YSU had a lot of learning and a lot of success, and after some time it kind of winded down a little bit with the youth that were within that initiative going through different changes in their lives. Even though that initiative winded down and the group was no longer active, I still was really diligent in maintaining relationships with the youth. And through doing that, I was able to still kind of get a sense of where they're at in their lives and where they wanted to be, and pull them into things in the network when it fit with what they were wanting. And an example of that kind of fit and opportunity was a camp conference that I invited Felicia to. She was so refreshed with new energy, new ideas, and meeting new people. And she was so inspired from this experience that she came back and said, I want to restart YSU with the people from the conference that I met and build relationships with. And so she kind of restarted a bubble within that network. And all of this only happened because we had that ongoing relationship. I knew Felicia when she first started to be involved, when she was really actively involved, when she was no longer actively involved, and then when she wanted to be involved again. It was all about being flexible to meet her where she was at and getting her involved when it made sense and letting her kind of live her life when it didn't.
Emergence is where momentum meets opportunity. It's a beautiful moment. It's the moment you're hoping for all the time. The role of a network facilitator is really to listen carefully to understand what the momentum is on the ground, and to constantly be scanning the horizon for opportunities that connect to that momentum. Resident networks, they tend to come together in a moment in time where there's something going on in a community and it draws a lot of people to it. And so they're very diverse. People come with different expectations and different hopes and dreams and aspirations. The network over time sort of forms and figures out what it wants to be and how it wants to approach its work. So my job is to really get out of the way and allow them to identify and articulate what is personally meaningful for them, and to resource it and shore it up and support it along the journey, along the process. I was working with a resident network that found themselves stuck, and they had worked together for 5 years, and they had done really significant work in the community. They had worked on beautification projects, they had worked on transit access campaigns, they had done a number of different very successful initiatives. Transit access improved, the neighborhood was more connected, things started to look better, and they started to lose their purpose. A couple of the founding members, they got very kind of controlling about how the network had to operate. What wound up happening was some people just left and some people stayed, but they were very peripheral to the work and they were very silenced. To help them kind of overcome that moment, we really put a lot of work into supporting those peripheral people and strengthening them and strengthening their connection to one another. New people were able to step forward and be leaders in new ways. And new people came to the table and they were able to connect with groups that they hadn't been able to connect with before. They've done some food security work. They have a program called P3, which is planting, preparing, preserving. They've also taken a lead on a whole bunch of recreation programs in the neighborhood and connected really nicely with some local youth groups. And ultimately what wound up happening is those people who had been holding on so tight kind of realized that, you know what, this doesn't have meaning for me anymore. And maybe I need to go do something that does, and that's okay. The concept of letting go and inviting in is really key for network weaving. Networks work well when there is continual new energy coming in. And in order to make room for that new energy, there has to be an exit strategy as well. And recognizing when people exit, that isn't the end of a relationship and that isn't a failure, that's actually a success, because when people leave is they go off and do other things, and that connects back to the network.
One of the great things of Storefront's connected community approach is what we coin spontaneous bursts of collaboration. So through that whole process, Storefront does not have to be involved or engaged. Storefront holds a relationship with the parties involved and shares that relationship among each party. And after those relationships are shared, the beautiful, great work of community development can start to take place without Storefront having to be in the mix of the interaction. The network that I currently facilitate are the Storefront Hub partners. We work together to ensure that residents in the KGO community are supported with the programs and services and opportunities that they are looking for or need. Many partnered agencies come from a service delivery background. Oftentimes they are working in silos or independently. So it can be challenging to shift from a service delivery mindset to an overall community development framework that sees everyone that you engage with or talk with, as valued assets in the community. During our partner hub meetings, I have different partners at a table, and then I ask them questions that kind of allow them to see themselves as part of a broader network. And it's a great experience to see them engaging with other partners and also sharing things or talking about topics that they had never thought of before. One day I came into work and then I heard that one hub partner was doing a facilitation on conflict resolution with another hub partners group. Those two partners connected through the partners meeting and leveraged each other resources to bring a well-needed workshop to the community. My hope is that the hub continues to grow with new opportunities, programs, and services, but while it's growing, it's being connected to the neighborhood. So what the community is saying and talking and doing, the hub is mirroring that and taking the lead from them.